r/ask Reddit. What do you never duck with? The casually dressed old men at corporate parties or events. There's a reason they don't need to don the suit and tie. Good god this. I was at a wedding recently. Black tie. I was stuck in the wedding party. Did the whole shuffle. I'm sitting there looking at a guy that was wearing blue jeans, sport coat, and tennis shoes. Turns out it's the bride's godfather. The man was worth millions from owning a sump pump patent that all the buildings in Chicago had to have. Coolest guy I met. Never went to college. And bought the patent from a guy at a bar. He didn't care. This is so unusual. Buying a patent at a bar that actually worked. My tech IP background needs to know more. I heard a story that one of the tech heads at Microsoft would attend conventions with the title Chief Janitor on his badge. The purpose being that people worth talking to already recognized his name and what he really does. And he avoids suck-ups that only care about a fancy title like technical director. That's when you pretend you don't know them and then talk to them with respect and tell them your plans and sob story. And then hell undercover boss you and give you a college degree and $1 million. Old power supplies. In high school, we had a PC building class. During this class there was an old CRT monitor the school was throwing away. One student thought it would be fun to stab a screwdriver through the plastic down into the monitor, but the teacher just stared at him and told him to never do that again. He then explained to us about capacitors and the negative effects voltage can have on the human body. I learned that at 14 when I changed out the bulb on my old strobe light. I think it explains the lack of hair on my body. Hornets. Me and my stepfather went out to one of his sheds on the backside of his property. We hear some buzzing on the backside. In the tree limb that was resting against the side of the shed was the largest hornet's nest I have ever seen. We both agreed that the shed belonged to the hornets now. Just put an H on the box. I'm trying to smoke these hornets to death so I can get their honey. Crazy people. Wasp nests. People from Long Island. The first and the last one are the same thing though. I was gonna edit my comment and make that joke but I knew someone would do it for me. Mexican drug cartels. If you wanna read about some real evil look up the 2011 San Fernando massacre. Several buses were hijacked. The female hostages raped, beaten and murdered. The males forced into literal gladiator style fights to the death with knives and hammers. The winners were recruited and sent on suicide missions to kill rival gang members. Something like 180 people were killed. Administrative assistants. They can improve or deteriorate your work life in the most ninja-like way. You do not want one cross with you. I work at a factory. Our secretary has the most access to the place of anyone in the plant, including the plant manager who makes probably 20x her pay, if not way more. She has the keys for every cabinet, drawer, door, posting board, company vehicle, you name it. A few of us have some important keys, but she has all of them. Yup, when I was an admin assistant I had keys to the doors, security codes, and access to all the personal information on everyone in my office, birthdays, SSN, full names, addresses, ect. I also had access to all the personal information for our clients and everything for the business. I was added onto nearly every utility and vendor that we used so that I could make changes to our accounts. The thing about admin assistants used to be one is they see and know everything that's going on in an office, and they have the boss's ear, so yeah, don't mess with them. It's dangerous and if you try you'll probably lose. I confess after getting promoted out of admin assistant work I kinda missed all the power. Undertow. I ducked with Undertow once, without meaning to. I was lucky I didn't go through the bars of the wave machine at the pool that made it. Story. At pool. Wave machine time. Pool full of kids. I decide to close eyes, hold breath and bob under the surface like, say, a helium balloon on a ceiling. Pleasant floating sensation. Undertow from the waves coming out of the machine pulled me towards the machine, while everyone else was staying in place or being pushed back. The first I knew of it was my head hitting the bars of the machine that, quite rightly, they'd installed to stop people swimming into the machine. The gap between those bars was, I think, actually wide enough for a person to squeeze through sideways, which is pretty scary to think about. There were so many people in the pool I don't think anyone noticed me heading that way. If it makes you feel better, you wouldn't have gotten chewed up by some huge pumps if you had gone inside. They move water by a pressure in a big plenum chamber. Might have ducked up your eardrums however. And probably drowned. But okay otherwise, right? As long as they found you within a day or so, your mom would probably be able to opt for the open casket. Low oil pressure warnings on automobile engines. Get a warning. Pull over and turn the engine off immediately. No TF out of that situation and call a tow truck. That vehicle is done until it can be repaired. There's no point in risking a multi-$1,000 repair for impatience. Or do. I guess it's fine for you to give me an opportunity to buy your $15,000 car for $1,000. Crazy aggressive drivers. Just back off. That is not a fight to win. Because people get hurt. Just let the a-hole go and fall back if you have some idiot in a car next to you or in front of you. I see people try to put them in their place by being aggressive back, and I have witnessed accidents because of this. My instructor told me this rule. The idiot's right of way. If they drive like a moron, let them pass and have their crash elsewhere. Discussions on religion and politics with people I don't know very well. Can confirm. Even with people you do know very well. Cocaine and feral cats, and definitely not at the same time. Cats jacked up on crack are the best guard animals. I don't know. Have you ever met a goose? Could you imagine one on crack? Methodican geese. Cobra chicken. Skunks. Nobody wants to run one over. Nobody stops to admire the skunks. Skunks are fair. I admire them, especially spotted skunks. From a reasonable distance of course, but really they're quite friendly. John Wick's dog. John Wick. Another man's wife. Also, it's a good policy not to duck with people from the Balkans. They tend to come in droves when ducked with. The sand people are easily startled, but they'll soon be back, and in greater numbers. The AARP, Senior Citizens Vote. They write, many of them have money, and if they get behind something politicians will listen. Most importantly, they're ornery and have nothing else to do. In general, don't duck with things that are ornery and have nothing else to do. People who don't use a phone case, they are clearly a psychopath. I've always said, the dude walking around with a busted ass iPhone 10 screen is likely a loose duck in cannon. A cat wagging its tail. PFFT. Tell that to the stray kitten we took in. You pet her head and she starts whipping her tail around like a happy little nut. But to be fair, you can definitely tell how annoyed a cat is by its tail. LOL. Source. My cat and my roommate 6 cats. We knew it was too many cats, but that poor stray needed a home. Equals. Also the house is huge and they have plenty of room. Glitter. Funny story. I worked for a company where every tech had their own service van. One of the guys was being a dong about something, so the other guys put a tube of glitter in his AC vents and turned the fan on high. When he started his van he got a face full of glitter. Now it's the middle of summer, so the guy was a little bit sweaty when he started up the van. So that shit stuck to his face real good. He spent like 20 minutes washing his face but he still couldn't get it all. He eventually had to give up and start his day. Last call of the day is with this little old lady in her 80s. He gets to her house, performs the service she requested and goes to get paid. As she's handing him a check she stops and says, "Young man, do you realize that you have glitter on your face?" He said that he turned beet red. The guy went to like 5 jobs that day and not once did anyone mention any glitter. Not that it would have done any good. Once that shit is on you it takes a pressure washer to get it off. A mean, rude, or otherwise unprofessional coworker. Chances are they are digging their own grave and you getting caught up with them will make you look bad. Ignore them. Even entertain their crazy, and people will see you better for it. The internet. I've seen 4chan, online communities and crazy people do enough shit to know that you should never, ever, duck with the internet. But I just sharpened my internet poking stick. Wild animals or big animals in general. In my country there have been incidents where people got attacked by cows. A woman was even killed. They were hiking and there are mountain pastures and some trails led through the fenced areas where the cows are, And there are signs that show how to behave explicitly with dogs and when the cows got calves. And yet recently there was a picture in the newspaper of a family with 2 leashed dogs and a baby in a stroller standing right in the middle of the cows, and I mean close, right next to it. Basically everything you shouldn't do. Luckily nothing happened that time. If you go hiking or camping somewhere, inform yourself about possible dangerous animals and how to behave, and obviously don't ignore instructions. You don't mess around with Jim. Severe weather watches. They're telling you to watch for a reason. Gas lines. I did gas surveying for a while, looking for leaks at people's homes. It involved me walking an entire neighborhood and walking up to each house with a fancy gas detector. People would get so annoyed if I told them that they had a major leak and we had to dig up their lawn, driveway, and sidewalk to fix it. The gas company paid for all repairs. I'm thinking, Beach, I just stopped you from exploding and taking half the block with you. For your information, if you smell gas, call 911 or the fire department and exit the house. Leave the door open and do not turn any lights on or off as you leave. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.